explaining Higuruma's domain expansion, and also the plan he and Yuji put together to try to put one over on Sukuna. So Higuruma's domain is called Deadly Sentencing, and it's different from most other domains in that it doesn't have a can't-miss attack attached to it. Instead, it has a sure-hit effect attached to it, and that effect is creating a courtroom and putting everyone inside immediately on trial. Now, in this trial, Higuruma serves as prosecutor, his target serves as the defendant, and the Shikigami Judge Man, which is part of the curse technique, serves as the judge. And as soon as the domain is expanded, the trial begins, and there's absolutely no violence allowed in the courtroom. So when the trial begins, the very first thing that's going to happen is Judge Man is going to levy the charges against the defendant. And Judge Man knows everything about everyone within the domain. The defendant then has three options. They can either deny the crime, they can confess to the crime, or they can decide to remain silent. And after they choose one of those three options, it is then up to Higuruma as the prosecutor to make his case. And he makes his case based on this envelope that Judge Man produces and gives to him. Now, in that envelope, there is going to be evidence related to the charges that have been levied against the defendant. However, the evidence may not be conclusive. It is up to Higuruma to just utilize what he's got to make his case as prosecutor. Then, after hearing the statements from both the defendant and the prosecutor, Judge Man will deliver a verdict of either guilty or not guilty. And if it is guilty, there are a number of sentences that Judge Man can issue out depending on the severity of the crime. The ones we have seen so far in the story are confiscation, wherein Judge Man will remove the defendant's curse technique, or in the case when it was used against Yuji, since he didn't have a curse technique, it just removed Yuji's cursed energy. But in addition to confiscate, we have also seen the death penalty, in which Judge Man will transform Higuruma's shape-shifting gavel into the executioner's sword, a sword that will kill its target in one hit. However, if the defendant is found guilty and the defendant did not confess, then they are able to call for a retrial, which the Judge Man must honor. One last important thing I forgot to mention is that when Judge Man levies the charges against the defendant, there is no telling what the charges could be. It is not necessarily the most heinous crime, it's not even the most recent, it could literally be anything. So that brings us back to the most recent chapter, which was a lot of dialogue, it was a lot of planning. And I'm not going to go over all of that here, but essentially what it was is them discussing how they could best utilize this domain expansion against Sukuna, with the main issue being, even if they are able to successfully get Sukuna in it, they have no idea what crime is going to be levied against him. And they really need it to be a serious crime so that they can hopefully get the death penalty sentence in addition to the confiscation of the curse technique. So they're going back and forth talking about what crimes Sukuna has committed and, what their percent chances are of maybe landing on one that is worth the death penalty. They talk a lot about laws and, the statute of limitations, and really there's just no guarantee that they can get something that will guarantee the death penalty, but then Yuji has an idea. And so that brings us to this final panel where all three of them are in the courtroom. Instead of levying charges against Sukuna, they're levying charges against Yuji, the same ones of mass murder in Shibuya. They're doing a retrial, but now hosting a co-defendant in Sukuna, and Higuruma is saying, it wasn't Yuji, it was this guy. So they've kind of guaranteed the mass murder charges for Sukuna by tying it to Yuji. So really clever, and I cannot wait to see this play out. Unfortunately, it is a break week though, so we're gonna have to wait a while. Let me know y'all's thoughts in the comments.